Reddit. Who are the worst coworkers that you've ever had to work with? Working as a cashier for a grocery store. Awesomely friendly boss was always quick with a joke and great with customers. She also counted the drawers and handled the front of the store. My drawer came up $20 short one day. Never happened in the year I was working, and I got pushed in front of the store manager without any defense. I could pay it out of pocket or get wrote up. Couldn't afford the $20, so I took the write up. Broke high school kid that had to pay car insurance. Boss goes on later and starts talking about watching out for quick change artists. Yeah, that must have been it. Fast forward 3 months. I quit because of a shitty raise, because of a demerit, and go work elsewhere. A few months later she's arrested and fired for stealing from the tills to feed her lottery habit. TLDR, nice people in authority who duck you over and let you take the fall. The woman who sat next to me and clicked her ducking pen all goddamn day long. Click click. Click. Click click click. It wasn't even rhythmic. Just a random cacophony of clicks. Enough to make a man lose his ducking mind and daydream of taking that pen and stabbing her through the neck with it. She was the worst. When I was 16, I worked at Wendy's. One day I went in to find out that I was training. I am working back window, and as I am training her, she starts filling me in on her situation. She was a recovering crack addict who had just been released from jail for theft, and was living in a halfway house. She was also 40 years old and kept hitting on me, asking if I had ever had women, telling me constantly how cute I was, etc. I thought I'd have to get a new job, but 2 days later, addiction won out and she ran out the door with $100. The funny thing was that, had it just been the money, she would have just been fired. Since she ran out with the work walkie-talkie, she was charged with a felony. Those things are stupidly pricey. The type who complain about not getting enough hours week after week, but when you do schedule them the extra hours they call out. I know one who cries for more hours, shows up consistently late, and 2 days ago just straight up ditched in the middle of the shift. While I was there to hang out on my day off. She left the entire crew frantic, so I volunteered to come on. Post stupid messages all over the store asking people to let her know if there's a shift she can have, but never takes any of the shifts she's offered weekly. Oh yeah, she's 30. Not 18, 30. I once had a coworker who wouldn't do a damn thing if the boss was not in the store. If he wasn't there, she would be on the store phone talking to her baby daddy, outside smoking, or out in the mall shopping. She would do enough work to cover a 15-minute break, if you complained long enough for one. However, if the boss was there, she was all over the customers like they were her new best friend and all in the boss face saying, "Look at how well I work." I complained, naturally. He just said there was nothing he could do because he never witnessed any of this behavior. Well, one day, while she was pulling her BS, another coworker and I were hit hard with a really huge rush. She was supposed to be helping with handing out orders, making fries and drinks, and whatnot. Instead she was off on the phone talking about X, loudly, in earshot of the customers. I had a mental breakdown and just started crying. I turned around and yelled at her, saying something along the lines of, "No one cares about your stupid X life. Not me, not coworker, and not the customers. Either get up here and do your job or just leave now." She came up to help, but with the worst attitude ever. As soon as the rush died down I booked it to the back, grabbed the cordless phone, and called the boss in tears. I thought I was going to get fired for yelling in front of customers. He agreed to do a stakeout and watched her from afar. She was fired. I was given a raise. I quit 2 months later. Easily the biaxial love triangle that I had to deal with while working at Arby's in college. One of my managers, female, had just split with her husband, so she started banging one of the kitchen bishes, male. When that went sour, she started hooking up with one of the female employees. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be a problem, except the male kitchen bish clearly still harbored feelings, which led to some nasty shouting matches during work hours. They'd try to pull the other employees into it and get us to take sides. I was all like, "Duck you, I'm just trying to slice roast beef." Ugh. There was this doctor that used to bring in framed photos of various exotic wildlife and show them off to everyone in the break room. He would go into a long story about his trip to Africa or whatever country that particular animal of the week came from. The thing is, they were all taken from the internet and printed on photo paper. If he brought in a Siberian tiger photo, I would Google Siberian tiger and bam. Oh look, it's a pic from a brochure for a Mexican zoo. I hated that guy. I share office space with a woman who's been working in our firm for 35 years now. Underneath her desk she has a banker's box half filled, at least 10 kilos, with colorful rocks. One day I asked her about the rocks. Oh, every time somebody really pisses me off, they get a rock in my box, so I can remember it. You mean, all of those rocks represent somebody? She rummaged in the box for a second and pulled one out. This is for the time department secretary didn't invite me to her Christmas party, even though I gave her a present. I picked one out at random. So, who's this for? That's for old boss, retired circa 2003, that bitch. I told her not to hire that packy for accounting, and she got pregnant 6 months later. She should have listened to me. I stared. So, do I have any rocks? She just glowered at me for a second, then turned back to her newspaper. I was a swing manager at McDonald's in high school. We had one employee, Johnny, who just didn't want to do any work. He was in the kitchen, so his duties were to cook, prep, clean and restock. His favorite thing to do was prep. Ask the man to make a Big Mac and you'd get the worst sandwich ever. Ask him to slice tomatoes and you'd get perfection. Anyways, one day we're really busy and I'm helping out in the basement with an inventory order. Johnny comes downstairs and his hand is sliced, but down to the bone, bleeding everywhere. It looked like he put his hand in the tomato slicer and just smashed it onto his hand. Thing is, he was so calm. Looked pleased with himself. We sent him home thinking that was that. He strolled out, said goodbye to his co-workers, and we never saw or heard from him again. That night I'm sorting out all the tills to take the dailies to the safe drop at the bank. We're missing nearly $5,000 in cash from the manager's safe. Never happened before. Never happened again. Don't know how he did it. I worked at a concrete company when I was 17 for a summer job. It was really hard work, especially when you're the new young buck. They shove all the shitty jobs on you and see what it'll take to make you quit. Anyway, about 4 weeks into the job, the owner of the company has Albus' son who is my age come in to work for him. He got all of the easier jobs, and whenever I was with him he would go out to the truck and take 10-minute long water breaks. Then he would come back and pretend to do work, but as soon as the foreman looked away he would slow his pace down or stop completely, and since he was usually working with me it became Mr. Miyagi, hurry your ass up, or GTFO. I mean, I get that it's the boss's son, but goddamn don't mistake his laziness for my incompetence. I would strip whole rooms and this kid would just sit there breaking ties, and I'm still pissed off about it. Reminds me of my job at a movie theater. They put me in box office alone on a Friday night, as usual, and I'm going about my business. On weekends, we rack up huge amounts of money, like absurd, and at the end of my 10-hour shift I had nearly $10,000 cash in my drawer and 3 times that in credit. I had the manager close my drawer and pulled it to go to the money office and count it out. Now, I'd been at this job less than a month, and I'd had some instances where I'd been $12 or so short on drawer because of the managers screwing something up or throwing away checks accidentally, so I'd paid special attention to all my transactions. The drawer was also really bootleg, and it was literally just a cabinet drawer that you opened and closed whenever you wanted, and when you went on break you were supposed to just leave the money there and trust that the manager who took over kept an eye on it. Anyway, I get up to the office and start counting out my drawer and I come up short, way short. I'm thinking maybe I just miscounted because there's $10,000 in small change, so I recount. Again, I come up short. I turn to the money manager and ask her to verify because I'm showing minus $100, which is beyond write up. It's fireable. She counts, double counts, triple counts. I'm short $100. I'm sent down to check in the cabinet and see if anything fell back behind the ghetto drawer, and we have to pull the next drawer and count it to see if their money somehow got transferred over. We find it. I'm safe. Somehow it got stuck in the drawer. I come in the next day, and the money manager says there was a mistake and they didn't find the money after all. She tells me to just go to work and the general manager will review the videotapes and let me know. I'm down there working and the manager on duty comes into the box and says, "Alright, so we are going to refresh how to do refunds." I ask her if that's where the money went missing, incorrect refunds, and she says yes. Obviously I was doing them wrong. So, I tell her, "Ma'am, I don't have the authority to do refunds. I have to call a manager every single time I refund or transfer tickets, so that's impossible." Turns out the money had been lost on refunds and some manager had been screwing up cash refunds all night. Never got a write-up. Front desk. This coworker was fired recently. She was an old Jamaican lady who was our night audit, and after a year and a half of experiencing her habits, I completely reformed my schedule to morning shift just so I didn't have to be in contact with her like I did for the night. Night audit comes in at 11 p to relieve night shift, and my coworker would come in 5 minutes late on the dot. Due to an idiotic corporate policy that allows this 5-minute courtesy, Hilton Hotel run by management company, franchised, there was nothing the managers could do, so I and my partner are waiting with our drawers counted and drops ready for deposit as she lumbers down from the clock room. By the time she's counted her drawer and fully ready to relieve us, it's already ducking 11:15 p. And it's not like we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs either, because during her leisurely preparation we're taking in money, checking in guests, and constantly recounting the drawers just so we can minimize our delay in ending our shift. Otherwise we either leave at 11:15 p with everything in disorder, not in my character, or leave at 11:40 p 45 p. She was a god-awful front desk agent, mumbled to the guests, was barely personable, but she survived slipping under the radar because she always met the minimum of expectations. She was fired on a technicality, made a reservation at this hotel for her family without authorization, and I'm glad she's gone. There are so many workers in this city that deserved her spot that she wastefully occupied for 7 years. I work in an engineering contracting firm. We mainly do electromechanical work from water-related projects. We had this one electrical engineer who had a major issue with communication. I was his project engineer for one project and he would never ever ask me anything or give me any information unless I asked for it. He would never take on tasks unless I told him to do task X, Y. He never even communicated with a mechanical engineer, although for our projects, there needs to be a lot of coordination. When we'd find out something went wrong on the electrical side, he'd blame us for not giving him information. Or he would blame us for not asking him to confirm beforehand. Further, whenever I'd ask him for something over the phone, no matter how small, like confirmation on an instrument tag number for example, he would request that I write him an official email with the question. Needless to say, we ducked up on every project he's worked on. He was fired,